We have with us Honorable Obinna Chidoka, who is the Chairman, House Committee on Environment and Habitat, and also a member of the PDP. Welcome to Sunrise Daily this morning.
Thank you. Just a correction, former chairman.
Oh, former chairman, beg your pardon.
Thank you.
And we also have with us Ben Wonye, who is the Chairman, APC Enugu State. Yes, Chairman APC Enugu State, and also Secretary APC State Chairman Forum. Is that correct as well?
Yes, it is. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on Sunrise Daily this morning. Well, let me start with you, sir. Your state has come under fire in recent times, starting from the attack we saw, the brazen attack we saw on the police headquarters and also a correctional facility, the release as a result of that, of over 1,800 inmates who were in the prison. And then shortly after that, we saw some other sporadic attacks in some other communities, also on police facilities. And then over the weekend, we saw an attack on the country home of the governor of Imo State. And right now, what the House of Representatives is saying is declare a state of emergency as a result of some of the attacks they've also noticed in the southeast, because it's not just been confined to Imo State and also other parts of the country. Is it a motion that you would support?
No. The answer is no. However, at this point, we need everyone to come together. We need patriotic leadership. We don't need this kind of statement. A state of emergency will, of course, lead to undemocratic process. What we are having is a national challenge. In a national challenge of this nature, we need to tone down the rhetorics. We need to reassure our people that more could be done to get the life and properties
Let
protected.
me get you clearly. You're saying that a state of emergency shouldn't be declared, despite all that has gone on in your state and despite all that is going on around the country.
No, that's Imo State, by the way. I'm Enugu. But in any event, it's southeast. And there's insecurity, obviously, everywhere. But the police and the security agency, they are doing the best they can.
Is there a reason for that? I mean, why would you not support a state of emergency?
Because when you talk about a state of emergency, you lose some of your rights, some of the inalienable rights provided under the Constitution. The democratic process, which is already put in place, the institution of democracy, you also have to give way on that. In some instances, the elected individuals would have to step aside. And then you might begin to talk about introduction of military rule. We don't want that. What we need is to come up with a solution. What we have is not just peculiar to Nigerian state alone. This is a worldwide challenge. You look at all over the world, you have one form of insecurity or the other, including the advanced world. If you look at the US today, what they're talking about is gun control. That is their own form of insecurity. They don't declare a state of emergency. What we need is a bipartisan decision-making process where we don't politicize it. This is not an APC problem or a Buhari problem. It is a Nigerian problem, which Nigerian people, the leadership, need to come together.
You don't think that the House of Reps saw it as a Nigerian problem when they asked the president to declare a state of emergency?
I don't think that it was considered very well, because if they consider what a state of emergency means, what it entails, it will also affect all the democratic institutions, including the House of Reps, okay, if it's put in place in that order.
Well, Honorable Chidoka doesn't seem to agree. What are your thoughts on, I mean, what was the House thinking when they asked the president to declare a state of emergency?
You know, Mark, we represent our people. And shortly before we took that resolution on the floor of the House at the executive session, we sit together, I and a few of my colleagues, one from Zamfara, from Niger, from Kano, and we exchange notes. Why we do this from time to time is to see what's happening in other parts of Nigeria where you're not from. I'm from Anambra State. I'm Obosi, precisely, representing Idemili North and South. And I found out that the issues that confront me is similar to those that confront somebody from Zamfara, from Niger, from other parts of Nigeria. And the stories are not palatable. The stories are not right. People are dying on a daily basis. We cannot sit and fold our arms and say, let the killings continue. First of all, I must give it to the Speaker of the House Representative, Femi Gbajabiamila, who before now, in fact, the inauguration is going to be today at 3 p.m. of the National Ad Hoc Committee on National Security, for us to take a holistic view from all our inputs to advise the federal government. We have been passing motions and bills and resolutions to this executive, and nothing has been done. What we're saying is a state of emergency on security. So what does that mean? It means that we are going to give a marching order to the security chiefs, to the security apparatus, whom in fact we have invited to come and brief us, and all the paramilitary groups. So that, and it also means us doing things differently. Now we're going to be recruiting more people. We're going to vote more money to it. We're going to have to review our intelligence unit. We're going to have to review some of the units we have within the police, within the army, and within the armed forces, for them to go in there and make sure that we bring peace. I saw somewhere you're talking about AFRICOM. I was in the House of Rep in 2007 when the Americans came and said they wanted AFRICOM to have a base in Nigeria or somewhere within West Africa. And now this is some of the things, when you declare a state of emergency, you are supposed to invite some of these people. I don't see, there's nothing wrong in having the military from the UK or the intelligence unit from the United States and everybody coming here. Homeland Security, in fact, has just started a new investigation into internal security. This is what happens when you're very proactive. You have to be proactive. You can't sit back and watch. We have to be proactive. In my constituency, during the EndSARS riot, about 4 police stations were burned down. In one of them, the police officer was put on fire and beheaded. And you don't need a state of emergency? What are we talking about?
Well, he's afraid that, yes, rights will be suspended. He said inalienable rights will be suspended as a result, and that he's also afraid about political actors losing positions for which they have been elected.
The question I have to put to him: what right does he have today? What right do you have that you can be driving? You can be a student of 16 years old going home in Ogidi, for example, and you get shot. What other right do you have? Do we have the right now? We don't have the right. So it's better for us to take actions that will protect lives and properties. And I keep saying it. Sometime in 2016, the Yaradua Center and some other agencies brought out a documentary, and it was titled Nowhere to Run. It was an environmental documentary that talks about the effects of climate change. So from Lake Chad all the way down to Akwa Ibom, where you have the rising water levels and all that, they say there's nowhere to run. And that's what's happening to us in Nigeria today. There's really nowhere to run. I can't go to the southeast the way I want to. They can't go to the northeast. Most of them haven't been there. And I will tell you my experience of going to Bama in 2018. I've been there. We drove from Maiduguri to Kunduga all the way into Bama, 68 kilometers. We knew what we saw at that time. And if some of the issues we are talking about were addressed at that time, then these issues wouldn't be there. So what right does he have today? That you are an elected official, you pass motions and resolutions, and it is not being taken. Some young men bear arms. Some of these young men are unemployed, unemployable. There are no jobs. There are no social safety nets. With all the trillions we've put into social safety programs, which is not well managed, and they're left to nothing. Let me tell you, one of the things you can do is to speak truth to the dead. And who are the dead? It's not only those who have been killed by the insurgents. You are also talking about those whose allegiance are dead. What allegiance do you have to the state of Nigeria? I was watching what's it called? A WhatsApp documentary or a movie someone sent to me. And this is sent by an army officer who is leading a company somewhere in the southeast. And you see these young men all seated together, all smoking, and they're comparing guns. One said this is not AK-47, this is AR. The AR is better than the AK-47. One said this is metal, he's referring to an axe. And you see them, and one of them said Nigeria must go down. And so when you see all those things and you know that even as an elected member, we are not safe. As an unelected member, you're worse off. So what right do we have? So we have to take an action that will make sure we'll go there and protect the ordinary person. I don't fear for my life today. No, I don't. I sit at the National Assembly every day to make sure that I bring the dividends of democracy to our people in the Southeast and in the North and South by passing bills and motions and resolutions and speaking what the truth is, bringing their opinions to the national level. You get frustrated when things are not done when they are supposed to be done.
Let me come back to you, Mr. Benwuyu. I do not know how, you know, you're receiving that. I mean, because he's saying that in any case, our rights are already breached. There's nothing to fear anymore about when it comes to rights. If just yesterday or 2 days ago we heard, you know, we've heard governors lamenting, the governor of Benue State, you know, talking about, you know, why won't the federal government declare a state of emergency? The governor of Niger State saying Boko Haram is only 2 hours away from Abuja. This is after communities were sacked. You know, 50 villages, we understand, were sacked, and people have been displaced as a result of that. In the past, we've seen the governor of Nasarawa State come to you know, the villa to talk about how Boko Haram have taken over certain roads in his state. And all of these things keep going on. I mean, we've also seen visuals of students who have been kidnapped. 5 of them already have been murdered in cold blood. And all of these things happening, you know, almost on a daily basis. Before we get over one, we're inundated with another one. And you say that we shouldn't declare a state of emergency?
Yes, my heart goes out to the family of the deceased. And when you look at what is happening in the country, we must come together. It is not a partisan approach. It is not a time we make statements, provocative statements, emotional statements. As leaders, we understand that things like this happen. You are in a country of over 200 million, I mean, approaching 300 million. For many, many years ago, the leadership of this country have not matched up the security apparatus in terms of personnel with the growth of the nation. So what you have is people coming up and pumping up with their own arm. But I agree with the reps. We should recruit more people. We should have more personnel. We should get more arm to match up with the policing unit. I think I looked at the number of police in this country. When I looked at it on the Google, it's showing somewhere in the neighborhood of 300 or 370,000 for a population of close to 270 million people. That is abysmal. And
even they have become very vulnerable. I mean, they have become targets as well.
Exactly, and that is because of the number. When you compare it to countries outside, or rather cities outside this country, take LA for example, a population of LA County of about 10 million people, and they have close to 1 million police unit with a sheriff and everything. So it is matching the force. So when you have over the years, the developmental planners, the politicians, and that includes holistically, whether the executive, the legislature, and even the judiciary, they watch the population grow. And then we did little or nothing about the security apparatus. You can't wake up one day and you say, declare a state of emergency, and we do all the recruiting today, and then we buy more weapons. This thing started for long. Buhari's government inherited this thing. We saw it. Buhari did not create Boko Haram. It was in existence. APC government did not create that. It was in existence. They did not create kidnapping. These were all in existence.
You talked about how things shouldn't be viewed from a partisan lens, but it would seem that you're going down that route of it being partisan. Because if that is the case, some people will say that's why your government was elected, that you won the election in 2015 majorly because of the security situation in the country at that time. And that's what, I mean, if you look at the president's acceptance speech and his inauguration day speech, that's what it focused heavily on. There were marching orders to the security chiefs at that time to relocate to the northeast to see what it is that could be done. And it was seen that there was some progress made made at the time. What a lot of people do not understand is the kind of reversal that we have seen, and how complex and how much of a spread that reversal has now, gained across the entire length and breadth of the country.
That is why I say that we need to come together as a people. This is a situation where we need to show more patriotism, come together and look for the solution.
No, but don't you think we have to understand the problem first? Because we have even seen the Nigeria Governors Forum. This is made up of both governors in the APC and in the PDP, asking that the presidency help make sense of what is going on, because it would seem that even they do not have an overview or a very clear picture of what is challenging the country. Do we understand first and foremost what is challenging Nigeria?
I think the leadership of this nation is not just the presidency. Just like the rep, they sat up yesterday and they came up with resolutions. And they are thinking about putting together a bill. The same way the governors, when you sit down and you make certain statements, provocative statement, it doesn't show leadership. It doesn't show patriotism. We are in a difficult situation.
What statements are you referring to in particular?
I'm referring to statements, the ones made up by the governor of Benue State. When you focus on the President Muhammadu Buhari as a person, the killing of the people in the IDP camp is condemnable.
Don't forget that this is a governor. I'm not holding breath for him, but I mean, some people will say we have to contextualize the happenings in Benue. This is a governor that has come under increasing attack from non-state actors. Don't forget that only recently his own life was threatened, where he had to basically run for dear life on his own farm. This was something that also saw him visit the villa afterwards. So if he's speaking again, you don't think that there is a context from which he is speaking?
See, I'm my own self, I've been attacked. People have come to my home to kill me. But as a leader, you watch what you say, because people are looking at you. What counts? We can't just say, let everybody go and pick up arms. We can't advance chaos, anarchy. We should be looking at other countries that have done that. What happened to Rwanda for those period of time? We should be looking at countries like Myanmar province. We should be looking at Yemen. Do we have to just say, okay, because this is happening, we need to push in soldiers on the streets? We need to suspend our rights? We need to suspend the Constitution? We need to everybody should be on their own, that no right we have? No. We need to calm down and look at this thing as a Nigerian issue, and look for solution from anywhere we can find it. Both the religious authority, both the legislature, and every good people of Nigeria should look at this.
What solutions are you proposing? It would seem that you understand, you have a different, or you have a clearer understanding of this picture. What solutions will you be proposing?
First, I'm thinking that we should have calm, first of all. We should get more recruitment. This is an economic issue. When the population has grown for many years, and we did very little to check it. What we have is basically political industry. Everybody wants to go into politics. And then those left out are left out to start for themselves. People like me and him, the political elite, become the target. Okay, so we need to look at this thing holistically. Not looking at it, oh, they are carrying arms. Why are they carrying arms? Why are they kidnapping for money? They have no jobs. They have nowhere to run to. They believe in that the elites have this job. Why can't we apply Kaduna Road? Because they believe the politicians are going back and forth Abuja. And that's where the money is. So we need to look at this thing, create job, get more policemen. We don't know for a fact how many. What the number, as you're killing the policemen, is supposed to be obviously recruiting more. They are at war. Okay? We are sending people on peacekeeping. How many of our policemen are out in other countries doing peacekeeping? It has to be an overview, a holistic review, which they call for, which I appreciate. There have to be continuous recruitment. You can't have a nation of close to 300 million being guarded by less than 400,000 policemen. Okay. It is impossible.
Let me ask Honorable Chiduka whether he agrees with your diagnosis of the problem. He believes that it is largely economic. Do you agree?
First and foremost, I must say that if you notice, I'm wearing black. Is symbolic of just the resonance to associate with those who have lost their lives in these mindless killings. Of course, everybody knows that what's happening in Nigeria are multifaceted, including the economic issues he's talking about. What are the economic issues? That we're an importing nation, we're not a producing nation, that we're a nation that is solely dependent on crude oil, majorly. And for the past 20 years, we haven't passed the PIB. And I don't see the urgency of now in passing that bill. In as much as we're working on it, I want to see a better urgency in terms of the engagement from the executive, whose bill it is. Recently, one of the IOCs in either Angola or Mozambique invested $15 billion. I want to see the urgency of now. We're a country that should be having 100,000 megawatts in terms of infrastructure, which is linked to the economy. We only have about 4,000 megawatts. What do we produce in Nigeria? When you go to the ports, what are we shipping out? We're importing. There's a lot of enormous pressure on the foreign exchange. There's so many issues in the sector. The informal sector, which should drive the economy, is at its lowest ebb. And so, of course, it's economic. We should be able to rejig the economy. Let me go back. When we keep talking about what we inherited and what we do not inherit, he is APC chairman in Enugu State. The speaker is the number 4 man in this country. He is of the APC. The APC have majority in the House of Reps. It is bipartisan. We have looked at it. We represent the people. What he's talking about, there are some members who can go home. It is that bad. And besides, apart from the 11 points that we raised yesterday, I also had a very personal, a different view yesterday from what they, suggestion from what they did yesterday. And that was re-echoed, or that first echoed by a colleague of mine who is from, I think, Jigawa, who said we needed to have a meeting with the president. We don't need to invite the president anymore. We want to show him the urgency of what is going on by going to him, the 360 of us, not just the leadership. And we sit in an executive session with him. There's something the speaker did yesterday. We went into an executive session yesterday about 1 o'clock or thereabout, and we didn't come out to almost 4 o'clock. It's never happened. Because what he did was to sit back and listen to everybody. So the president needs to listen to us. On the 23rd of March 2019, while he was being voted, we were being voted. He wasn't everywhere in Nigeria. It's not ubiquitous. We are everywhere campaigning for those who are APC, for him, while we are campaigning for PDP. Today, I wear 2 hats. I'm here as a PDP man and also as a House of representative who cares about what happens in every part of Nigeria. So when we sit with him, we're going to look at him eyeball to eyeball and tell him, and what I will recommend, if you cannot deal with the situations, you should do the honorable thing. What is the honorable thing? In Nigeria, when we speak the truth, everybody becomes the enemy. I'd rather speak the truth today and go home. He should resign. I'm sorry. Why do we get elected? Why has he been running the elections for five times? Because we take authority. In the House of Representatives, we have taken 360 of us, 259 of us, have taken our rights and given to the Speaker. So whatever happens in the House of Reps, you hold the Speaker responsible. Isn't it true? And that is why the man is leading from the front. So in Nigeria, the 200 and something million of us, we don't even know how many we are, have taken our rights in voting a president, or those who voted for him, to make sure he takes authority. We don't know it all.
I will ask how your, because you said that was your stance, your personal stance yesterday. How was it accepted? And perhaps throw it also to Lagos, my colleagues, for my colleagues' questions when we come back from this break. Please stay with us. The state of security in Nigeria is the topic of our discussion this morning, and we still have in the studio Honorable Obinna Chidoka, who is the former chairman, House Committee on Environment and Habitat. And we also have with us Mr. Ben Woye, who is the chairman of APC Enugu State and also Secretary APC State Chairman's Forum. I'll flip this now to Lagos for questions from my colleagues.
Well, thank you, Malkwe. Honorable, let me begin with you. You have heard said over and over again by a good number of people, some of them governors, even as far as the presidency, say that some of the things responsible for the insecurity that we have been traced to prominent politicians. Of course, we don't know their names. And I'm wondering if you know of that, and how significant do you think that is? How serious is it, you know, in the whole conundrum of this entire security stuff that we are talking about? What kind of conversations are we having with these unnamed politicians?
Thank you for that. I think that if somebody is claiming that they are unseen forces or hands or politicians who are involved or who are foiling these crimes, I think that the time has come for them to mention names. You can't just make an allegation and just leave it at that. You must have done your due diligence, do your investigations, and be able to identify those who are behind this kind of crimes. So it's not just on the basis of allegation. We want facts and figures. Now it's enshrined that the CSOs, they are the chief security officers, though some of them say by nomenclature. But of course, you should have that briefing from the security agencies, and you should pinpoint it where the issues are. We're in dire straits. We're in a very difficult situation. And I must say that most of these governors, I keep using the word, Mark will say, why am I sorry? I'm sorry, are leaving their states worse than they found it. They haven't done anything better than that. Some of them have huge security votes. And besides, I don't see the proactive nature. I remember in the first tenure of President Olusegun Obasanjo, he brought about what is called the irreducible minimums for PDP governors. When you go to certain states in America, he lived in America, he knows they all look alike. Some of the things you find in one state, you find in the next. But you go to Nigeria, you find out that most of them are not even articulating their positions. There are states in this country where the governors haven't successfully completed a flyover, not even a bridge. And so all I hear is just coming here to sit down. Some of them, when we used to fly, we see them in the commercial planes. We don't see them anymore. So it's upsetting that we're all here just romancing the issues, just rubbing over the issues or glossing over the issues when people are dying on a daily basis. So if you say they are politicians, you should be able to know who they are and be bold enough to know that you have to name them, and of course the security agencies will go after them. As I said, when you're dealing with certain, of course, we have created almost 3 or 4 what will I call it now, groups who are attacking Nigeria. And one of our colleagues put it in a succinct way. He said they are the bandits. They are the violent, extremist Fulani people who are killing people on a daily basis. And there's the Boko Haram. And he says that one of the things we should avoid is for Boko Haram to unite the 3 of them. We're talking about the Northeast now, and some of the things happening most part of the North Central. Because when the 3 of them who don't agree ideologically now come together, then there'll be problem. There'll be behavior problem for us. Because these Fulani men are just taking advantage and taking over people's properties and cattle and all that. And the bandits are criminal elements. Now go back to the Southeast. What is going on? You find out that from information I have today, crime and criminality has increased. Forget about, there are those who are agitating for the state of Biafra. But now, the criminals have taken over. So when you see some attacks, they will say, we didn't do this, but who did it? And so we can't sit back and watch. And some of us, the governors are, I don't know, they're nowhere to be found.
Well, Honorable,
so
if
we must make sure that
Well, if you don't mind me butting in here, I mean, the people who made these allegations, as one would call it, are governors. And as you know, they have information that is not available to many, many of us. I don't know if you have all the information that they have. The governor of Zamfara State made this comment after the rescue of all of the children that were abducted from his state. The governor of Imo State made the same allegation after the attacks. And if a host of people have said the same thing all across the country, especially governors. Even at the presidency's level as well, we've heard such things said. And that there are certain politicians who are behind these things. Otherwise, one wonders, where would people who are unlearned and who do not have access to the kind of resources that can help them to purchase AK-47, get them, and be moving around the country? So if this information is available, what guess can you hazard as to why the security agencies have not been able to take them on? Are they that powerful?
That is a very good question. If you're making an allegation, you should be able to accept the allegations you're making. I see on other crimes where when there are issues in the papers, in the press, media, print, electronic, you see names. You see investigations going on and names are being rolled out. Okay, let me ask you also, how many arrests have been made? How many have you seen out there and said, okay, this is the people who are behind this or who are behind that? Let's just not hide under a canopy to subsume the major issue we have in Nigeria. 3 major areas: infrastructure, economy, and security. And part of the reasons why this government was voted was that they said they were coming in with change. They said that what we had with the PDP was not good enough and they want to bring in something better. And I want to ask the average Nigerians, are they better off today than they were 6 years ago? What has happened that the APC is in majority in the House of Reps, they're in majority in the Senate, they have more governors, they have the presidency, they have everything. They're in charge of the army, the air force, the navy, the police, the DSS. They're in charge of everything you can think of. So what is the issue? Why do you have those kind of issues coming up? Why can't they sit together and deliberate on the issues? So I think the time has come for the president to genuinely engage Nigerians. Let's have a different discourse. Let him be able to come out and address certain issues. And I said in the floor of the House of Reps yesterday that I think there are low-hanging fruits. The allegiance of many in Nigeria has died off. And he needs to bring everybody back on board. What am I saying by that? Just a bit of readjustment. A bit of readjustment. You're a journalist. Look at the positions. In the House of Reps, we jokingly call it juicy positions. Look at the positions today, from the FRS to the police to NMPC to everywhere. Just look at that. The other constrained parts of Nigeria are not feeling part of Nigeria. You need to, bring them in. If you have people from other parts of the country who are in position of authority and in government, what you need to do is to call them with the ministers and say, go back to your state and talk to your people and find out what the issues really are.
Okay, let's ask Mr. Nwoye.
So just like the late Ojo Modeko.
Yeah, pardon me. Let me bring in Mr. Nwoye on this one. I mean, having heard the governor of Niger State, he said it several times as well, that he's raised the same challenges and concerns with the presidency. And nobody seems to be listening to him. We've heard, also saw Borno State governor go to the villa, tell him about what he thinks and suggestions of what they think should be done. The same thing with Benue and some other governors. But it appears as though they feel frustrated that they're not being listened to. And you keep saying people need to calm down. What should they be doing at this stage then?
I don't think that they are not being listened to. But it's frustrating when you see your people or human being being slaughtered. When I say people need to calm down, we need to unite as a people. In 2011, when we had the 9/11 in the United States, the Republicans and the Democrats did not point out to then former President Bush and say he needs to resign, or to say that because there was a security intelligence failure, the country should seize and introduce martial law. And that seems to be where I differ. We have the capacity, the intellectual capacity, and we have the people, and we have the security agents doing their best. The issue of security is not, or insecurity, it's not just limited to Nigeria as a nation. It is everywhere. It is everywhere. So when a governor sees that people have been slaughtered, they don't need to mount on a podium. And yes, you can become emotional because they're human. But we need to also understand that what counts? What counts? We have no other nation but Nigeria. We can't talk as if this country is already collapsed, as if we no longer have a nation. The people of faith, the traditional institution, the civil societies, and the politicians need to come together and understand that we don't have any other nation. If we're saying that this whole thing is over, it is finished, then, like my brother here said, where do we go from here? Where do we go from here? You know, we have no other place to go. You know, so we need that calm. We need patriotic statements. We need patriotic position. People going on and say, oh, the president should resign
more people into the army and all of those. But well, are we addressing the root cause of the problem?
Yes, we are. But this thing is not like a light switch where there is insecurity. You touch a button and then it's over.
You want to give us an example of what has been done to address the challenges or the root cause of the problems that people feel it's going on? What has been done?
Well, when I say take the time to... When I say that it takes time, you have a country of close to 300 million people. We have almost, let me call it pandemic, unemployment situation. We don't have industries. We are just cranking out young people, those who went to school.
Mr. Moye, let me ask you pointedly now. You know, even the president has said if anyone is found bearing AK-47, they should be shot at sight. Then you know that there are criminal elements within the headsmen who are taking advantage of that position. Do you think anything has been done to address those killer headsmen who are going about killing and maiming people?
The issue is not just killer headsmen. We have banditry going on in certain places of the country. We have kidnapping going on in certain locations. Then we have the Boko Haram going on. People prosecute this kind of guerrilla warfare against the nation. The nation have internal security issue. It did not just start this year or last year or in 2015 when President Muhammadu Buhari was elected. I still say that the structure of this country as it is presently put together does not support the type of security system we have. So we need to go back and review
just one second,
theory of state policy.
One of the things that you have just said now underscores a need. You've said that it's not just killer herdsmen, we also have banditry, robbery, and all of that. And you heard the honorable gentleman sitting beside you ask how many arrests have been made in order to stem the tide. Can you hazard a guess?
No. When you say high, I think that's a hypothetical question. How many arrests? The security men and women are working hard every day to secure this nation. We only
if you can just answer, if you can just give us an idea, Mr. Moye, of how many people have been arrested as a result of some of specific, unrests in different parts of the country, and how many that have been arrested have been prosecuted as a result? You would agree that that would be a deterrent?
No, it wouldn't be a deterrent, sir. I am not in a position to give you a number if you're looking at specific. then you will need to get the Nigerian police chief, the IG of police, to come in here and give you a number. Or you get the DG, DSS to give you numbers. But what I'm saying again is that we need calm. We need more patriotic statement. We need to get together as a people, not as a partisan people, not as that it is the fault of this group of politicians that have been elected, not that we could have done better if Buhari was not elected. No, these challenges all over the world. At this moment, at this material time in the United States, their own security problem.
Yeah, Mr.
Violent.
You know, the governor, the comments of the governor of Niger State, everybody heard it. And could you tell us, do you know, has there been any deployment? Has there been any immediate response to his government? Because if he says they are trying to take over a certain area in the state and then launch from there because it's just 2 hours drive, you would have thought that alone is enough to trigger a huge emergency situation. Has anything been done about that?
That's exactly why I say that word counts. As leaders, we can't go into the situation of alarmists. He knows who to call. He's the chief executive officer of Niger State. We can't just go in and say, oh, they're about to take over us. They have run us over. He knows who to call. But when we become emotional and when we think that our hands are tied, and then we take on the podium and we make press statements that set up panic and then make it look like the men and women who are on the street defending this nation as if they've done nothing. No, we need to give, these are people laying down their life for this nation. They are working hard every minute.
All right. That's taken, but let me throw it to Honorable Chidoka now. Well, you have said a number of things, and I'm pretty sure you may want to react to a thing or two that you have heard Mr. Nwoye say. But I want to ask you, I mean, one of the things that a number of people have said is responsible for this insecurity, the spate of insecurity that we have is unemployment. You heard Mr. Nwoye also mention it. I'm wondering, as a member of the House of Representatives, what do you think has been done or can be done to stem the tide of unemployment, lower the figures, so that at least we can have more people in employment and create a more conducive environment for businesses to thrive?
Well, thank you for that question. So every day we bring about economic bills and we engage the federal government on the need to diversify the economy, on the very need to diversify the economy, and the very need to, of course, make better use of the social safety nets and all the social programs that they've brought about. So part of the things he's been saying, that which I, of course, do not really agree with, is that it is in the purview of this government who, when taking over government, should know what the issues are. Without power, you cannot be very effective and efficient. Without infrastructure, those you are sending to the farms cannot bring out their produce. Without an effective system. And so what you do is that, okay, let's take for example, you know for sure that part of where most of your earnings come from is from the oil and gas sector. This government have been in place for the past 6 years. And they've seen how the revenues from the oil and gas have dwindled. I should think that a responsible government should have looked at another avenue for us to what, at least come to a level that will help us get earnings that we can deploy to other sectors of the economy. And part what everybody keeps saying in the industry is the PIB, Petroleum Industry Bill. What is the urgency in that? Secondly, other sectors of the economy. What have you seen done? And so I just said to you here in National Assembly that we're frustrated because sometimes we bring about resolutions and we bring about bills which are not being listened to. And then we've talked about also, even some of us in the PDP have talked about reducing the cost of governance. We talked about subsidies. We talked about inefficiencies. We talked about leakages in government. Every day we hear about probes. Those probes come up after the fact. The monies have been stolen. The monies have been shared. And then you bring this to us to probe. Probe what? And so you see that every day. Even during budget sessions, he had to take the president to mandate the agencies to come and talk to us. Some of these agencies, you're calling them, they don't want to come. Some of them are violating the acts that set them up by spending monies without approval. So it's a bit frustrating when you look at it and you see what can be done. I remember when the president was given the rare privilege by the then president of the United States of America to come to the U.S. and retrieve at the Andrews Air Force Base and, of course, rolled out the red carpet and all that. What do we see? Do we see the big boys, which I wanted to say the other time, the little John Monaco called them, the people in the room, the ministers, the essays, who will come with him and then sit back after he discusses with the president, he hands them over, and we have the collaborations. And those collaborations will bring FDI. So we are talking about, in real terms, in the last week, Twitter, Amazon, name them, everybody's going to Ghana because of the conducive environment in that country. And so when you bring the enabling environment, you will find out that the inflows will come, the job opportunities will be created, monies will come out, and people will begin to get gainfully employed.
Well, maybe I think Amazon is South Africa.
Oh, South Africa, sorry.
Yes, but
sorry.
Let me quickly, ask you, because we're talking solutions right now.
Yes.
Did it come up? Because right now, a constitution amendment is going on.
Yes.
I mean, aside those who are agitating for secession, which you're aware of, there are those who say there needs to be a fundamental restructuring.
Yes.
Is this something that the House of Reps is taking into cognizance in the current constitutional amendment that is going on?
What is our duty? Our duty is to listen to the people. We're elected to listen to the people. What do the people want? Structural adjustment? Having to restructure.
Structural adjustment. I think we need to qualify that because structural adjustment brings to mind SAP, and I don't think that's what the people are asking for.
No. So what I mean is just to restructure the federation, as it were. Some have brought about different propositions.
Do you, in your own honest opinion, think that it will make any difference? The kind of restructuring they're asking for.
What I think about is about now. What I think about is about now. Of course, it will bring about a difference in the way the country is run if everybody should go back and make use of the natural resource they have and have a bit of more fiscal autonomy and will contribute to the center and all the ideas espoused by everybody. But I think that as a legislator who represents a people, it is the views of my people that count the most. Who want allegiance to this country. And I can tell you what my people want. Those who elected me, I'm not talking about everybody in particular, but those who elected me.
What do they want?
Who want to be part of Nigeria, who want to produce the presidency of this country.
Okay.
Who want to be in the center, who want to be recognized, who want to be given some positions, who want to be able to say we're part of Nigeria.
Is that what your people are also saying in Enugu?
I hope he's elected.
He's a politician. Who knows? Maybe he's feeling their pulse as well.
We want a secured nation where people can pursue their various aspirations without hindrance. Not just Enugu, the Southeasterners, the Igbos, they don't need hands out or hands. They just simply need the secured environment to do things for themselves. And so when you say, is that what my people want? They want peace. They want to be able to live like normalcy, normal life. So when they talk about the restructuring, when the APC government came in place, if you recall, in 2015, that was part of what we had.
Some people also think that, the presidency right now, even though there are fears around 2023 elections, nonetheless, they believe that, as it gets closer, the country should be firm in saying that it's been zoned to the southeast. Is this something that you're supporting?
Well,
it's yes or no, because we've run out of time.
It's a yes or no question.
Yes.
Of course.
I can answer that.
Yeah, of course I can answer that, but
Let me answer.
Well, yes.
Okay.
No.
So you're both agreed?
No, unequivocally.
Yes.
It's not a mention of, oh, yes. I'm telling you that this is the issues that we're having on the front burner, where a people feel alienated from their country, where we feel that we need to be part of this country.
So on this one question, you're both agreed?
It's not about just both agreeing. This is what we want.
Okay.
This is the issue we're looking at.
I think it's a fine place.
And we must be able to be sure that we deliver to those who elected me to go there to speak on their behalf, to make sure that the federal government listens.
Gentlemen,
and besides,
we really have to go. We really have to go. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us this morning. Honorable Obin Nachidoka is a former chairman, House Committee on Environment and Habitat, a member of the PDP, and we also had with us Mr. Ben Wonye, who's a chairman, APC Enugu State, and also Secretary, APC State Chairman, Governor, beg your pardon, Chairman Forum. Thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. Well, that's it for this segment. We'll be back with more on another segment for you. Please stay with us.